Now, having covered the Premier League and wanting to talk about the other leagues across Europe, as I mentioned in the previous video where I said I will be covering all the leagues across Europe and talking about the best game of the season, the top teams in Europe, I want to continue and pick up with La Liga. La Liga this season has shown that technicality is always going to reign. The amount of technically gifted players that have come in and have shown that this season will be a very interesting and fun season in La Liga has to be talked about. And if you cannot talk about technicality without talking about Barcelona, for me, other than strength of opponent, Barcelona looks like one of the best teams in Europe. It's always been the case, that's nothing new, but stepping out, having a 5-0 romping of Elche, who had a pretty decent first game and plays pretty good football, just shows just how strong Barcelona's team is. Barcelona has also made signings perfect for their club. We still know they need a centre back and maybe they need a centre forward, but employing Rafinha up front, having Anthony Gordon on the wings, Lamol, who didn't have a good game but was still a chance creator in that game, that Barcelona still looks like what Barcelona is expected to look like. When you add the speed and hunger of Anthony Gordon, the speed of Adeyemi, along with the core Barcelona already had, you're just adding more fuel to the fire that already blazed to 2 La Liga titles in back-to-back years. This year, if Barcelona could get a little more addition to the squad, fight the injury bug that has bothered them for some time, and find a way to rest and rotate players while still maintaining the quality in La Liga, don't be surprised if you see Barcelona challenging for the Champions League that they covet and really wish to earn so much. This season, with the start of how the season looks, Barcelona has stepped out and served up a 5-0 romping and said, we're here and we're still the best team in La Liga. It's only match week 1, but they have started out strong. I want to follow up by talking about the 2 Madrid teams, because in my note I put Madrid needs time, and then I put both of them. Atletico Madrid has to understand what they're doing with the Julian Alvarez situation. Julian Alvarez has been one of the better strikers across Europe for the past few seasons, and losing Julian will be a blow to Atletico Madrid, but not having a motivated Julian is also a blow to Atletico Madrid. So Atletico Madrid has to figure out and understand the situation with Julian Alvarez, get a proper replacement in that could be employed as a striker. I know they have Sorloth, who was out for the first 2 games. Lookman has been playing in that position but is not an out-and-out striker. There's no hold-up play. Lookman is a winger. So Atletico Madrid has to figure out what they can do opposing the Julian Alvarez situation. They have made some good signings though. I feel like Holzman has come in from Sporting and has shown that he'll be the disruptor. He'll run the entire length of the park, the whole 90 minutes. And they've also made a brilliant signing in Lee Kang-in. Creator, technically, he fits with the whole Atletico style of play. So Atletico Madrid has done some good things, but I really feel like what they do with the Julian Alvarez situation will determine their position in the league and if they're a challenger for not only the league but for Europe. And then Real Madrid. Real Madrid still needs time. They got a new manager in. They have new players all over the park. So Real Madrid still needs to understand, figure out their best 11 and know when and how to employ certain players that they have in their squad. The addition of Yan Diomande I thought was very big, and it will be big for them because they get a right winger that is not only technically gifted but fast, a skilled player and a chance creator, which I feel like they were lacking last season, even though Brahim Diaz tried to fill in for Rodrigo, who was injured, who is mostly a left winger that plays right wing because of Vinny. But I feel like Real Madrid still needs time. They need time to gel. They had a lot of signings come in. They have players playing their first games in La Liga. They need time to gel. They need time to understand the league. And I feel like with time, Real Madrid will get a whole lot better, because your ceiling is just so, your flooring is just so high with Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. Adding in Yan Diamande and experience from Bernardo Silva. But once Real Madrid gels, which will take time with the World Cup fatigue, like I mentioned in my prior video, I feel like Real Madrid will be a good challenger for both the European titles this season and for Barcelona for La Liga, which they haven't won 2 years in the bounce, so will be hungry to win. Villarreal, they look hungry this year. I know last season they didn't perform too well in the Champions League, but they still managed to finish third above Atletico Madrid, and they kept their team. And Villarreal is fast. They have a lot of pace. Villarreal, if they could keep up their goal scoring and take their chances, can and will present challenges for the top teams in La Liga, and I feel like they're in for another top 4 finish. So Real Betis did look well. They're also playing today, so let's see how they do following their first game. But I feel like Villarreal, with their speed and keeping their core players with Papa Gay and with Renato Sanchez in the back, along with Pepe on one wing, Tyrese Buchanan, Villarreal looks like a scary team, and I feel like they could only get better with time. So there is still a lot of technical brilliance in La Liga, and I still have a feeling the top 4 will resemble the top 4 of last year if the teams survive the injury bugs and play to their potential. Now I want to go with the Ligue 1 in France. PSG had played a tough opponent. Rennes has been the only team that has beaten PSG multiple times over the course of the last years. PSG and Rennes always play some good games. But what I was fascinated by looking at this PSG team was learning to play under pressure and learning to play from behind. PSG dominated their league, dominated the Champions League the past 2 years. Even though they did make it through the league phase the first year they won it, PSG just always looked like the best team in Europe. What we did not see was a PSG that had to reel from being punched in the mouth. PSG got punched in the mouth by Rennes and found a way to come back from 2 goals down at halftime to earn a point. We also saw it when they played against Aston Villa, who was fairly new because it was not the same Aston Villa they had that battle with in the Champions League a few years back. They found that they could play tricky opponents and find goals where goals are needed when they're stunned and shocked at what their opponent will throw at them. PSG made a lot of new signings, so we will see how that will play into how they will do this season. But one of the main questions I wanted to ask pertaining to PSG is, will the new signings help more than losing some players will? Because there is talks about losing Bradley Barcola, who is a very, very skilled and quick winger. It's something different from the Desiree Doués and the Dembeles and the Kvaratskhelia, who want to hold the ball up. Will make runs in the box sometime, but Barcola's game was just run, run, run. How will PSG cope with if they lose Bradley Barcola? They also lost Lee Kang-in, so we will see how much the World Cup fatigue, along with losing some players, will affect PSG. But their new signings, which they have made some great new signings, let's see how well they come in, and if adding new signings will be enough to close the wounds of losing some of their important players. Going away from PSG, I want to talk about the talent in France. France will keep producing, feeding, and strengthening the top 5 leagues in Europe for a long time. There has been a lot of young quality players coming through this France league. We have seen it in Ligue 1 for a while. We've seen a lot of the star players go on to bigger teams and create a name for themselves. But over the course of the weekend, we saw where the young players in Rennes and Lens and a lot of the other teams, including Marseille, have shown that age is just a number, and as long as they're ready, you play them. Barcelona employs this system. If they're ready, play them. And in Ligue 1, we see where using and believing in youth and letting them play football can show that kids can play. I have a feeling that there will be a surprise battle in Ligue 1. We had one last season where Lens gave a stern fight to PSG up until the last day for the league title. I do understand that now they will have European football, so we don't know how much that will impact them. But I feel like there will not only be a challenge for the title in France this year again, but there will also be a surprise challenge from a French team across Europe. I feel like we will have a round of 16 push, if not better, because we know PSG is always going to be a candidate for winning the thing. But I feel like there will be another French team that will be pushing for the round of 16 in all 3 European leagues, the Conference League, the Champions League, and the Europa League. So with what Marseille showed me this opening game, losing Greenwood, which was their top scorer for 2 seasons in a row, losing Aubameyang, Agliouche is also gone from Monaco, but I feel like the French league, with the quality and youth that they employ, will create challenges. Marseille did look good. They scored 4 goals. Lens looked good. They found a way to win. Lille and Lyon is always going to be there, but French league is looking like a challenging league this season, and I have a few surprises from the French league this season. Serie A. When you speak Serie A, Juventus always popped out, Napoli always popped out, Rome always popped out, but Inter over the last few years has been dominating Serie A, and Inter looks stacked. If Inter could keep Lautaro Martinez with the additions that they had to their squad this season and play Rossoneri Inter football, Inter can, like we've seen in the past, make a deep run into the Champions League season. Inter's team is stacked, and they came out the first game and it's like they never missed a beat. They just dominated. So Inter will be in the running for a treble this season again, which is what's expected from Inter every season. And if they could keep Lautaro Martinez and keep their core players like Arsenal have done and add in a little new blood, Inter can and will challenge in Europe this season again. We were all surprised with the result they had last season in the knockout stages in the Champions League with the Bodo Glimt thing, but if Inter can keep their players, that solid core of players that they have, Inter can make a lot of noise again. But what I do want to talk about was Inter's biggest challenge 2 years ago when they won the league in Napoli. Napoli, if healthy, can make a lot of noise in Serie A and in Europe. Napoli lost Kevin De Bruyne early last season, who was one of their creators and their magicians in the middle of the park, and we saw where it cost them because their goal scored was a little bit limited. They did score quite a few goals, but Inter, when you looked at the gap between first and second last season, Inter had almost 20 plus more goals and points gap. So I feel if Napoli could stay healthy this season, they could create a lot of problems, and the title race will not be a walkthrough for Inter. I also wanted to talk about Milan. Ruben Amorim's system has been shown to be dominant on the XG charts. At Manchester United, playing three at the back with his overloads, chances were getting created. It was chance after chance after chance. What will happen and what Ruben Amorim will see is something of a deja vu in finishing. Inter needs to have that out-and-out striker and goal scorer that will finish. AC Milan, will need to show that they have that out-and-out striker, that poacher, that will finish chances when the overloads created by employing the five at the back with the two wing backs overloading system. Ruben Amorim will reel if Gonzalo Ramos does not start snapping up chances. I understand it's just one game after the World Cup in a new league, but taking chances will be very important to how well AC Milan does this season. Any team playing a five at the back with the two wing backs playing higher up the pitch will create a lot of chances because there will be overloads for wing backs, there'll be crosses, there'll be intricate plays where they could break down a side, but finishing chances has always been one of the downfalls of playing a three at the back system. And if Ruben Amorim could find a way to get Gonzalo Ramos, to get Loftus-Cheek, to get his wingers and his midfielders to finish their chances, AC Milan could be a surprise winner of not only a European title, but Serie A. I also wanted to talk about Roma. You could basically get the hint of my top four in the Italian league based off match week 1. Very early predictions, but yes, I've mentioned Inter, Napoli, Milan, and Roma. Roma has made the perfect signings. Giving Pablo Dybala, a player in Daniel Malen that just wants to run, has the qualities to finish his chances and has the qualities to create his own chances, has been perfect for Roma. Don Malen left Aston Villa last season because he wanted to play and he wanted to be a striker, and he has started this season pretty much how he finished last season with Roma, showing that he can and will be a good target man that you could rely on to find goals this season. Hat-trick to begin his campaign this season. If Daniel Malen keeps up the form that he's in with Dybala supporting and supplying him, there could be a lot of fireworks coming from Roma. One signing I really love from Roma and one player that I raved about last season is Rodrigo Mora. Having somebody other than Dybala who could orchestrate in the midfield and who could create chances, give that technical flair, is important. And Roma had been Dybala reliant the last few seasons, so having Rodrigo Mora to take some of the workload off Dybala and also to give Dybala some rest when needed will be very important for them. That's a very good signing, and one signing that's not a signing that's important for Roma is keeping Manu Kone. If Roma could keep Manu Kone in the middle of the park to destroy, carry, and provide that safety blanket while also gliding up the pitch, they could, with their three at the back system and Wesley flying up the wing, and create problems. So I feel like with the signings Roma have made, they've closed the gap a little bit. I feel like it will be a great top 4 race this season in the Serie A. And seeing Juventus trying to build on, a few bad seasons, Juventus will have their work cut out for them to finish in the top 4 this season, I feel. And losing Yildiz early in the season can play a part in that because, like I said in the previous video, how you start the season can determine your league position because of those first 5-6 games, first 15 points. How those points are shared can determine winning the title and finishing in Europe. Serie A, Ligue 1, and La Liga will be good this year. I also want to talk about the Eredivisie. The Eredivisie has and will continue to produce great talents. We've seen Saibari get signed to Bayern from Ajax. We've seen Ajax supply a lot of these top European teams over the course of the few years. So I feel the Eredivisie will keep and continue to supply Europe. And teams in the Eredivisie have started off with a bang. Ajax loses players and replaces them with young players and dominates just the same. PSV has looked well. So if you want a fun league to watch, if you like watching football from younger players that freely play football, and you like seeing goals, Eredivisie will be a good watch. And I do feel the Eredivisie teams will make a push in this year's European competitions also. I am looking forward to seeing them perform in Europe because I feel like we will have a round of 16 playoff contention team coming out of the European leagues from the Eredivisie. So that will be a good watch. I also want to talk about Primeira Liga in Portugal. I understand that Benfica have lost Jose Mourinho. I understand that Porto, having won the title last year, lost Rodrigo Moura, who was their spark. But I still feel like there is a lot of quality in the Portuguese league. And we've seen where Benfica, having won a game against Real Madrid last season in the Champions League, found a way to get strikers in Yonduran, Luque Bacchio. They still have the draw to appeal to players, and I feel like the Premier League will also be another fun watch and also have teams that will be competing in the European leagues. Keep an eye out for the Portos, the Benficas, the Port Sporting CPs, all teams that lost important players but just produce so much youth and quality that they will always be good. Now, the Turkish league has also shown that there will be a lot of spark and a lot of unpredictability coming out of the Turkish league. The Turkish league added more stars to their league, picking up Saka at Trabzonspor, picking up Salah from Liverpool at Trabzonspor while retaining Onana. They've also found a way to get Mason Greenwood over in Fenerbahce. I'm not sure how well the move for Victor Osimhen is developing, so if they keep Osimhen, there's star power there also. We've seen Besiktas sign Trossard from Arsenal, having just won a league title. The Turkish league will be a very, very unpredictable league this season, and there will be a lot of riots and a lot of goals and a lot of unpredictability, because in that league you cannot bet on any team to just dominate the whole year. We got Galatasaray doing that last year with the star power of Victor Osimhen. If they could hold on to him, they could maybe in for a repeat. But I feel with the additions certain Turkish teams have made this season, they will also be challenging. I feel like Fenerbahce will be really good with Mason Greenwood. Have you seen him score 2 goals? He's a goal scorer, so he'll produce goals for Fenerbahce. And Galatasaray will be there. So I feel like the Turkish league will also be a fun watch this season, and a league that has star power now, that's appealing to star players. And we've seen them trying to grab star players and big names from other clubs. Rashford has been a name mentioned a lot. So the Turkish league will also be a good watch and a good challenge in Europe. Because 16 teams go to the round of 16, 8 teams. There's a lot of places to play for post the league phase in the European league. So there's a lot of teams that could, make a run in Europe. But I have to talk about the best game that I watched this weekend. I also feel like it's necessary to input this because the Bundesliga hasn't started yet. But the best game that I watched this weekend came from 2 Bundesliga teams in the Super Cup, the Beckenbauer Super Cup, between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. Chelsea Fulham was a good game. Chelsea looks like they could do something under Xabi Alonso, so that's an honorable mention. But Chelsea aren't in Europe this season. It's a big loss to Europe because Chelsea, has that standard and that, draw. But watching Bayern Munich versus Dortmund showed me that depending on draws, we could see all Bundesliga finals in the Champions League. But I have a feeling those two teams can make a lot of noise in Europe. And depending on draws, we might see a Bundesliga team in the Champions League final, because Bayern going toe-to-toe with Dortmund, the quality, the technical brilliance, the pace, the hunger, the drive. We've seen a few misplaced passes cost a couple chances, but it's early season, and where I've seen Bayern and Dortmund coming off a World Cup and performing like that, I feel like those two teams can hit the ground running, and there will be surprises from the Bundesliga last season. Like last season, we seen Freiburg, a Bundesliga team, make the finals of the Europa League. We also saw that Stuttgart was in the semifinals. We did see that Dortmund have, if not for a dominant PSG game in what was one of the best games of football in the last decade, made work of Real Madrid and got to the semifinals of the Champions League. So Bayern Munich and Dortmund will still be in and around the elites in Europe. And I feel like, from what I've seen from those two teams, and the Bundesliga being a factory to produce talent, that the German league will be there at the end of the European competitions when everything is boiling down. After covering all the leagues, I want to talk about the top 5 teams across Europe. So after every video, I'll be doing a power ranking on the top 5 teams across Europe. I mentioned in my previous video how I've seen Arsenal being so dominant because of keeping their players in my Premier League coverage. So to combine both, I want to give you the combined top 5 in Europe. And I know it's one game, but because of strength of opponent and how Dortmund looked, I want to say the number 1 team at the start of the season for me is Bayern Munich. Harry Kane, Michael Olise, Luis Diaz, Pavlovic. You could name players that walk into any team in Europe and start from that Bayern Munich team. And that's how good of a team I think Bayern can be. And if no injuries and performing to peak abilities, can cost and stir up a lot of trouble in Europe this season. My second team is Barcelona. Post-World Cup bug? Nah. Technical brilliance? Yes. Barcelona has shown, after playing a very good Elche side, that they can and will be in the running to be one of Europe's elites come the end of the season. 5-0 win. Anthony Gordon getting off to the perfect start. Adeyemi getting a goal. We still know Yamal is there to produce. Rafinha getting 2 goals. Fermin Lopez just looks like a gem of a player. How Chelsea wanted him for 40 million, I do not know. But Barcelona is the team I'll slot into number 2 at the moment for one of the top 5 in my top 5 ranking. Number 3 is Arsenal. The only reason I have Arsenal at number 3 is because they played Coventry. But from what we saw with City, you can say Arsenal looks like they will be a dominant force in Europe again, which I will love, because I love an English team dominating and getting to finals of the Champions League and looking like one of the best teams. Arsenal playing free-flowing football and just going out and expressing themselves can be one of the most dangerous teams in Europe. And I feel like Arsenal, if they just keep their head on straight keep doing what they're doing and staying with the basics and playing football and letting their best players be their best players, Arsenal could challenge for all the titles they can and will be up for this season. Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, the works. Arsenal will be around the running for a lot of trophies this season with how good I've seen the team so far and with how well they've kept their main players and their core. At number 4, I have Inter. Yes, I understand that people might think the Serie A is not as strong, but Inter has a lot of European background and history, and we've Champions League finals a few years ago. The Inter can and will also be in the running if they keep hold of their main players. And with the signing of Akanji now permanent, picking up John Stones, winning experience, picking up Jed Spence now to play as your right wing back, keeping DeMarco, which was very big for them, 20 assist season, keeping DeMarco. Inter has made good buys, kept great players, and will be amongst the running in Europe this season. And at 5th, I know they lost, but Dortmund has looked great going toe and toe with the juggernaut of Bayern Munich. I know there was a gap between Bayern and every other team in Bundesliga last season, but I feel Dortmund has done good business, bought a lot of good young players and promising players, and I feel like they'll have a little more in the tank to challenge Bayern Munich for the title this season. We could always throw Real Madrid in there, but I still feel like they need more time. Atletico Madrid, the big names will be the big names, but for me, this season, and after match week 1, I have Bayern number 1, Barca number 2, FC Barcelona, Arsenal number 3, Inter number 4, Inter Milan, Serie A, and I have Dortmund at number 5. Let me know who your top 5 teams over match weekend 1 have been. How do you feel about Champions League draw coming in a few, and who do you think will be in the running for the Champions League title this season? Manchester Mar, and I'm out.